The price of pride. Commander James Reed straightened his uniform collar as he waited in the gleaming docking bay of Celestial Station. The massive space station orbited high above Earth, serving as humanity's premier gateway to the stars. After 15 years in Earth's Special Security Forces, he'd seen his share of important assignments, but this one felt different. "Your charge approaches, Commander," his AI assistant chirped through his neural link. Thera Navari, heir to the Navari trading empire. Net worth, approximately 47 billion galactic credits. Reed watched as a sleek private shuttle glided through the energy barrier. The vessel probably cost more than he'd earn in 10 lifetimes. The boarding ramp descended with a soft hiss, revealing a tall figure who moved with liquid grace. Thera Navari stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin a subtle shade of violet that seemed to shimmer in the station's artificial light. Her silver hair was woven into intricate patterns that likely signified something important in her culture, though Reed hadn't been briefed on the specifics. Her outfit, a flowing ensemble of what appeared to be living fabric, probably cost more than the annual security budget of some small nations. "Commander Reed," she said, her voice carrying notes that human vocal cords couldn't produce. "I trust you understand the importance of your assignment." Reed nodded professionally. "Yes, Lady Navari, I'm to ensure your safety during your stay on Earth. My team has already secured your planned routes and venues." She lifted an eyebrow ridge, the gesture somehow more elegant than its human equivalent. "And you believe your primitive security measures will be adequate?" Reed kept his expression neutral, though he felt his jaw tighten slightly. Earth's security forces may not have access to quantum shielding or neural disruption fields, Lady Navari, but we have protected visiting dignitaries for centuries. We're quite good at it. Thera's luminescent eyes narrowed. "Centuries. My species had already colonized 12 star systems when your people were still arguing about whether the Earth was flat." Before Reed could respond, a warning flashed across his neural interface. His enhanced reflexes kicked in as he grabbed Thera and pulled her behind a cargo container. A plasma bolt sizzled through the space where she'd been standing. "Stay down," Reed commanded, drawing his sidearm. A conventional weapon by galactic standards, but one he trusted with his life. He spotted movement in the upper rafters and fired 3 precise shots. A figure in stealth armor tumbled from their perch. Thera's eyes were wide with shock. "How did you?" Questions later, Reed interrupted, scanning for more threats. "We need to move. Now." They made their way through the docking bay, Reed leading them through a route that provided maximum cover. 2 more attackers emerged from behind a shuttle, wielding weapons that made Reed's pistol look like a child's toy. But their advanced technology meant nothing against human experience and training. Reed's shots found their marks with deadly accuracy. As they reached the secure elevator that would take them to the station's core, Thera spoke again, her voice carrying a different tone. "Those were Shadow Mist assassins. Their stealth tech is supposed to be undetectable." Reed checked his ammunition as the elevator descended. "Nothing's undetectable if you know what to look for. Your assassins relied too heavily on their tech. They forgot the basics, watching for shadows, listening for breathing patterns, monitoring air displacement." "You saved my life," Thera said, studying him with new interest. "With a primitive projectile weapon, no less." "Sometimes primitive works just fine," Reed replied, allowing himself a small smile. "Though I notice you're not complaining about my security measures anymore." A sound escaped her that might have been a laugh. "Perhaps I was hasty in my judgment, though that handbag you so carelessly allowed to be scuffed during our escape costs more than your annual salary." Reed glanced at the bag in question, which showed a small mark where it had brushed against the cargo container. "Better a scuffed bag than a dead Heiress. Though I'm curious, why would Shadow Mist assassins target you?" Thera's expression grew serious. "My family's company is about to announce a major technological breakthrough, one that could change the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy." She paused, seeming to debate whether to continue. We found a way to make advanced technology compatible with less developed systems, including human ones, making Earth less dependent on alien tech, Reed concluded. I imagine that would upset quite a few powerful people. Indeed, which is why I'm here, to finalize the agreements with your government. She straightened her clothing, somehow making even that simple gesture look regal. It seems I may have underestimated both you and your species, Commander Reed. A common mistake, he said, checking his tactical display. One our enemies often make as well. The safe room is 2 levels down. Once there, we can. Another alarm flashed across his neural interface. Multiple hostiles converging on our position. Heavy weapons. Thera's hand tightened on her expensive bag. What's the plan? Reed's mind raced through options, calculating risks and possibilities. How attached are you to that handbag? It's worth more than your life, she said automatically, then paused. But I suppose you've already proved that assumption wrong once today. Reed grinned. Then I suggest you hold on to it tight. We're about to prove a few more assumptions wrong. The elevator doors opened to chaos, but Reed was already moving, his primitive human reflexes and training about to demonstrate why Earth's security forces were respected even without advanced alien technology. And beside him, an alien Heiress was beginning to realize that worth couldn't always be measured in credits. Beneath the surface, the service corridors of Celestial Station hummed with hidden energy as Reed led Thera through a maze of maintenance tunnels. His neural implant mapped their route, highlighting potential escape paths and danger zones. The sounds of pursuit echoed distantly behind them. This is hardly the dignified arrival I had planned, Thera muttered, though her tone carried more intrigue than complaint. She moved with surprising agility despite her formal attire, keeping pace with Reed's tactical advance. Dignity's overrated when someone's trying to kill you, Reed replied, checking around a corner. Though I have to admit, you're handling this better than most diplomats I've protected. The Navari aren't just merchants and aristocrats, she said. My ancestors were warriors before they were traders. Some say that's why we've been so successful. We never forgot the importance of strength. An explosion rocked the corridor behind them, sending vibrations through the station's superstructure. Reed's tactical display lit up with new warnings. They're using thermal charges to flush us out. Smart. Thermal charges. Thera's luminescent eyes widened. Those are illegal in civilized space. Reed couldn't help but laugh. Apparently your assassins didn't get the memo about being civilized. He tapped his neural link, accessing the station's maintenance protocols. Lucky for us, humans are really good at improvising. With practiced precision, he overrode the environmental controls for their section, flooding the corridors behind them with supercooled air. The pursuing assassin's thermal charges would be useless in the freezing temperature. Impressive, Thera acknowledged. Though I'm curious why you haven't called for backup. Surely Earth's security forces would respond to an attack on someone of my importance. Reed's expression darkened. Because the only people who knew your exact arrival time and location were top-level Earth officials and your own security detail. This attack was too well coordinated to be random. Understanding dawned in Thera's eyes. You think we have a traitor. Multiple traitors, Reed corrected, which means we can't trust the normal channels. Right now, the only people I'm sure aren't compromised are you and me. They reached a sealed maintenance hatch. Reed's neural link interfaced with the old-style mechanical lock. Sometimes outdated technology had its advantages. The hatch opened to reveal a small emergency pod bay. These pods are meant for station repair crews, Reed explained, quickly preparing one for launch. Basic life support, minimal electronics. They'll be harder to track than a regular shuttle. Thera studied the cramped pod with obvious skepticism. It looks primitive. There's that word again, Reed smiled. You know, for someone whose company is planning to revolutionize human-alien technological integration, you seem pretty fixed on the primitive versus advanced divide. She had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Old habits, though you continue to challenge my preconceptions, Commander Reed. James, he said, helping her into the pod. If we're going to be fugitives together, you might as well use my first name. James, she tested the name. And you may call me Thera, though I still don't understand why we're running. Surely Earth's authorities would take hours to verify the situation, during which time our traders could arrange any number of accidents. Reed interrupted. We need to go somewhere unexpected, somewhere off the grid, while we figure out who's behind this. The pod systems hummed to life as Reed plotted a course, not to Earth, as their enemies would expect, but to one of the smaller orbital habitats, places where humans and aliens mixed freely, where credits meant less than connections. You're taking quite a risk, Thera observed. Protecting me like this, going against official channels. Why? Reed checked the pod's trajectory one final time before initiating launch. Because someone's trying to stop your company's technology from helping Earth, and I want to know why. Because those assassins were willing to kill innocent bystanders to get to you, and because, despite your occasional superiority complex, I think you genuinely want to help bridge the gap between our species. Thera was quiet for a moment, her silver hair catching the pod's dim lighting. The technology we've developed, it's more than just making alien tech compatible with human systems. It's about creating true integration, allowing different species technologies to work together in ways they never could before. Some say it could shift the balance of power in the galaxy, making some very powerful people very nervous, Reed concluded. The pod detached from the station with a soft thud, its minimal profile making it almost invisible against the backdrop of space. The assassins weren't just trying to kill me, Thera realized. They wanted my personal data core. She held up her expensive handbag, which is encoded into the quantum crystalline matrix of this bag's fabric. Reed stared at the bag with new appreciation. So when you said it was worth more than my life, I meant it could change millions of lives, she finished. Though I'm beginning to understand that worth isn't always about monetary value or technological advancement. The pod's simple sensors detected multiple vessels leaving Celestial Station, searching for them. But Reed had fought in Earth's orbital defense force. He knew how to hide in plain sight, using debris fields and communication shadows to mask their trajectory. We'll head to New Singapore Habitat, he decided. I have contacts there who can help us, people who owe me favors. But Thera, he turned to face her directly, you need to be sure. Once we do this, there's no going back until we expose whoever's behind this conspiracy. Her violet skin seemed to shimmer with determination. My family has spent generations building bridges between species, James. We believe that progress comes from cooperation, not isolation. I won't let fear and prejudice top that progress. As Earth's blue sphere slowly receded behind them, Reed reflected on how quickly life could change. This morning, he'd been preparing to babysit a spoiled alien Heiress. Now he was on the run with a woman who might just help reshape the galaxy, assuming they lived long enough to expose the truth. The pod's basic systems continued their steady hum, carrying its unlikely passengers toward an uncertain future. And somewhere in the darkness of space, their enemies were already plotting their next move. Threads of trust. New Singapore Habitat sprawled across the void like a giant metallic spider web, its interconnected modules housing one of humanity's most diverse space communities. The maintenance pod carrying Reed and Thera docked at an auxiliary port, far from the habitat's main traffic lanes. Keep your head down and stay close, Reed instructed as they navigated through crowded corridors. The habitat's population was a mix of humans and aliens, many wearing environment suits adapted to their unique physiologies. No one gave them a second glance, just another odd pair in a place full of them. You seem familiar with this place, Thera observed, her height allowing her to scan over the crowds. She traded her elaborate outfit for simpler clothing, though she still carried the precious handbag. I worked security here after leaving Earth's forces, Reed explained, guiding them through a maze of market stalls. Learned a lot about how different species think, how they operate. It's why I got assigned to diplomatic protection. They reached a small door marked with faded Chinese characters. Reed placed his hand on the scanner, and it slid open to reveal a dimly lit workshop. Tools and parts from a dozen different species technologies littered the tables. "Leon," Reed called out, "you still fixing things that aren't broken?" A short woman emerged from behind a pile of equipment, her arms covered in neural interface tattoos that shifted and glowed as she moved. "Reed, thought you went corporate, protecting rich aliens from themselves." Her eyes landed on Thera. "No offense." "None taken," Thera replied smoothly, "though I find myself increasingly grateful for human protection." Leon's tattoos pulsed with interest. "Must be serious if you're bringing her here. What do you need?" "Information," Reed said. "Someone tried to kill her on Celestial Station. Professional job, high-end tech, but they knew exactly when and where to hit us. Has to be an inside job, probably multiple players. And you think I know something?" Lion started manipulating holographic displays that emerged from her tattoos. "You've got connections with every tech smuggler and information broker in the sector." Reed pressed. "Someone must be talking about a big move against the Navari trading empire." Leon's fingers danced through the air, sifting through invisible data streams. "Actually, there has been chatter. A new player calling themselves the Preservation Alliance. They're pushing back against cross-species technology integration, saying it'll destabilize established power structures." "How primitive," Thera muttered, then caught herself. "My apologies. Old habits." Reed smiled slightly before turning back to Leon. "Any idea who's behind it?" "That's the interesting part." Lion's tattoos swirled with excitement. "They're getting funding from both human and alien sources. Corporate executives, political leaders, even some military officials, all working together to keep their species separate. Ironic, really." A warning flashed across Reed's neural interface. "We've got company. Multiple signatures converging on our position." "Already?" Lion looked impressed. "You must have really scared someone important." She pressed a hidden panel, revealing a concealed passage. "Old maintenance tunnel. Gets you to the outer ring. Don't die. You still owe me for that quantum decryptor." They hurried through the tunnel as sounds of combat erupted behind them. Reed's tactical display showed hostiles entering from multiple directions, a coordinated strike team. "Your friend," Thera said as they ran. "She's using banned neural interface technology. Yet you trust her." "Leon believes information should be free," Reed replied, checking their route. "She helps people regardless of species or status. Reminds me a bit of what your company's trying to do." They emerged into a wider corridor, just as an explosion rocked the habitat. Warning klaxons blared as emergency containment fields activated. "They're getting desperate," Reed observed, drawing his weapon. "Willing to risk habitat damage to get to us." "To get to this," Thera held up her bag. "The complete schematics for our integration technology. With it, any species tech could be adapted to work with others. No more technological barriers, no more forced dependency. No more using advanced technology as a way to control primitive species," Reed suggested. Thera met his gaze. "I deserve that. I've spent my life surrounded by luxury and technological superiority. It's taken being hunted by my own kind to make me see how artificial those distinctions are." A plasma bolt sizzled past them, forcing them into cover behind a support column. Reed returned fire, his primitive projectile weapon proving surprisingly effective against advanced combat suits. "Speaking of artificial distinctions," he grunted, reloading, "any chance that Fancy Bag has some useful tech besides the data core?" Thera's fingers danced across the bag's surface, activating hidden interfaces. "The quantum crystalline matrix can be reprogrammed. If I can access its base structure." The bag's fabric began to shift and flow, extending tendrils of shimmering material that formed a defensive barrier around them. Enemy fire dissipated harmlessly against its surface. "Now that," Reed grinned, "is a handbag worth showing off." They fought their way toward the habitat's emergency pods, the reprogrammed bag shield protecting them from the worst of the enemy fire. But their pursuers were well-trained and well-equipped, slowly forcing them into a corner. "James," Thera said suddenly, "I need you to trust me. Can you get us to an external airlock?" Reed checked his tactical display. "Yes, but we'd be exposed. One hit to that shield." "Trust me," she repeated, her luminescent eyes intense. "Like I've learned to trust you." Reed studied her for a moment, seeing not the arrogant Heiress who'd first stepped off that shuttle, but a woman willing to risk everything for what she believed in. He nodded. They made their break for the airlock, enemy fire intensifying as their objective became clear. The bag shield flickered under the assault, but held. They reached the airlock just as Reed's neural interface detected a new wave of hostiles approaching. "Whatever you're planning," he said, sealing the inner door, "now would be good." Thera pressed her hand against the bag, interfacing directly with its quantum matrix. The material began to flow and expand, forming a bubble around them both. "The fabric can generate a temporary environmental field," she explained. "Good for about 10 minutes in vacuum." Reed's eyes widened as he understood. "We're going outside. That's crazy." "Sometimes primitive works just fine," she quoted him with a slight smile. "Ready?" He reached out and took her hand, their fingers intertwining. Together, the airlock cycled open, exposing them to the void of space. But instead of death, they found themselves floating in a shimmering bubble of quantum crystalline energy, their pursuers unable to track them against the backdrop of stars. As they drifted toward a distant emergency beacon, Reed realized that trust, like worth, couldn't be measured in traditional terms. Sometimes it took losing everything you thought was important to find what really mattered. Breaking point. The emergency beacon led them to a small salvage vessel, its captain asking no questions when Reed transferred a significant portion of his savings as payment. They huddled in the ship's cramped cargo hold, the quantum crystalline bubble finally dissipating as they reached pressurized safety. "That was either brilliant or insane," Reed said, helping Thera to her feet. Their close proximity in the bubble had left him acutely aware of her presence, the subtle floral scent of her skin, the warmth of her touch. "Perhaps both," she replied, her luminescent eyes holding his gaze longer than necessary. "Though I'm beginning to think humans have a monopoly on brilliant insanity." The salvage ship's ancient engines rumbled as it changed course, heading deeper into the asteroid belt that separated Earth's orbital habitats from the outer system colonies. Reed's neural interface picked up scattered communications. Their escape had not gone unnoticed. "The Preservation Alliance will have agents everywhere," he mused, checking his tactical feeds. "We need to find proof of who's behind it. Expose them before they can stop your technology from going public." Thera's fingers danced across her bag's surface, accessing its hidden data. "The integration protocols are complete, but we need a quantum processing hub to demonstrate them. My family has a research facility on Ganymede, but it's probably compromised," Reed finished. "They knew too much about your movements, had too much inside information." He paused, an idea forming. "Unless we could use that against them." A slight smile played at Thera's lips. "You have that look again. The one that usually precedes something primitive yet effective. The Alliance wants to keep species separate, maintain technological barriers," Reed explained. "So they'll expect us to run to alien facilities, alien allies. But what if we went somewhere they'd never expect? Somewhere primitive?" Understanding dawned in her eyes. "Earth. But their technology is exactly what your integration protocols are designed to work with," Reed pressed. "And I know a place, an old military research bunker in the Rockies, officially decommissioned, but some of us kept it maintained as a fallback option. Basic but secure and completely off the grid." Thera studied him thoughtfully. "You continue to surprise me, James Reed. When we first met, I thought you were just another simple human guard. Now I find myself trusting you with not only my life, but potentially the future of interspecies relations." "And I thought you were just another spoiled alien princess," he replied with a slight smile. "I guess we both had some prejudices to overcome." Their moment was interrupted by a violent shudder that ran through the salvage ship. Warning lights flashed as the captain's voice crackled over the intercom in multiple languages. They were being pursued. Multiple vessels, Reed confirmed, checking his tactical display. Military grade. They're not trying to hide anymore. The salvage ship's engine screamed in protest as their pilot attempted evasive maneuvers through the asteroid field. But their pursuers were gaining, their superior technology allowing them to navigate the debris with ease. "We'll never reach Earth in this ship," Thera observed, remarkably calm despite their situation. "Even if we could, they'd track us easily." Reed's mind raced through options. Maybe we don't need to reach Earth. Maybe we just need to reach the right part of space. His fingers flew across his neural interface, accessing old military protocols he wasn't supposed to remember. "There's a defense satellite network around Earth, officially defunct, but you primitive humans kept it operational," Thera finished, a new respect in her voice. "Like your bunker." A near miss rocked their ship, sending them stumbling into each other. Reed caught her, their faces suddenly inches apart. For a moment, the chaos around them seemed to fade away. "Thera," he said softly, "what I'm planning. It's going to cause an interstellar incident, probably get me court-martialed if we survive." She reached up, her violet fingers tracing his jaw. "You've risked everything to protect me, to protect this technology. Why? Because you were right about one thing. This tech could change everything. Give developing species a chance to stand as equals." His hand covered hers. "And because somewhere between that first firefight and floating in space in a bubble made from your handbag, I realized something." "What?" "That some things are worth any price." Their lips met in a kiss that transcended species, status, and the artificial barriers that had kept their peoples apart. It was brief but intense, filled with unspoken possibilities. Another hit jolted them back to reality. Reed's tactical display showed their pursuers moving into attack formation. It was now or never. "Hold on to something," he warned, interfacing directly with the ship's primitive but functional systems. "This is going to get rough." He transmitted a specific code sequence, one that would identify their ship as friendly to Earth's automated defense network. Then he plotted a course directly through the heart of the satellite grid. "They're powering weapons," Thera reported, monitoring their pursuers through her bag's quantum sensors. "Multiple target locks." "Let them come," Reed said grimly. "Sometimes the best trap is the one your enemy thinks is too primitive to be a threat." The salvage ship plunged toward Earth's orbital defense perimeter, pursued by sleek military vessels whose crews were probably laughing at their desperate flight. But Reed knew something they didn't, knew that human paranoia and preparation were about to prove their worth. As they crossed an invisible line in space, ancient satellites stirred to life. Their pursuers' advanced sensors didn't even register the supposedly defunct weapons until it was too late. The darkness of space lit up with the fire of human ingenuity, proving once again that primitive didn't always mean powerless. Worth more than gold. The Rocky Mountains loomed before them, ancient and indifferent to the drama unfolding in their shadow. The salvage ship, battered but intact, settled into a hidden valley as the last rays of sunset painted the sky in shades of purple that matched Thera's skin. "Most of our pursuers were destroyed or scattered by the defense grid," Reed reported, checking his tactical displays. "But they'll regroup, and they'll guess where we're headed." "Then we'd better work quickly," Thera said, her bag pulsing with subtle energy as they approached the camouflaged entrance to the bunker. "The integration protocols are ready. We just need to prove they work." The bunker's interior was a testament to human persistence, old technology maintained with care and ingenuity. Reed's neural interface connected with systems that were considered obsolete by galactic standards, but had been steadily upgraded with scavenged and modified components. "Your people are remarkable," Thera observed, watching him work. You take parts from a dozen different species technologies, adapt them, combine them in ways they were never meant to be used. In a way, you've been doing what my integration protocols are designed to accomplish. Survival breeds innovation, Reed replied, activating the bunker's quantum communication array, another hybrid of human ingenuity and salvaged alien tech. We're ready. The question is, who do we trust to receive the transmission? Thera's fingers danced across her bag's surface, extracting streams of complex data. The protocols will speak for themselves. We just need to broadcast them widely enough that they can't be suppressed. About that, Reed's neural interface pinged with multiple warnings. We've got company. Multiple ships entering the atmosphere. Military and corporate vessels, both human and alien. The Preservation Alliance. Thera's luminescent eyes narrowed. They must have traced the quantum signatures from my bag. Good, Reed said, surprising her. Let them come. In fact, he transmitted a specific set of coordinates. Let's make sure they know exactly where to find us. Thera studied him with growing understanding. You want witnesses. The more forces they send to stop us, the more people will see what happens here, he finished, including the media ships that are undoubtedly following them. Your enemies have been working in shadows. Time to drag them into the light. The bunker's sensors tracked dozens of vessels converging on their position. Among them were news ships from multiple species, drawn by the earlier battle in orbit and the unprecedented cooperation between human and alien military forces. The integration protocols are ready, Thera announced. But James, once we do this, there's no going back. The technology will be public, and the power structure of the galaxy will change forever. Reed took her hand, marveling at how natural it felt now. Isn't that what you wanted? To break down barriers between species? Yes, but she squeezed his hand. I never expected to find so much worth preserving in a supposedly primitive species. To find someone who would risk everything not for profit or power, but because it was right. Their moment was interrupted by the bunker's proximity alarms. Ships were landing outside. A mix of human and alien vessels. Armed forces surrounded the entrance. Lady Thera Navari. A voice boomed through multiple communication channels. By authority of the Preservation Alliance, you are ordered to surrender the integration protocols and submit to protective custody. Reed checked his tactical displays. I count at least 50 elite troops out there. Mixed species, top-of-the-line equipment, plus whatever reinforcements are on the way. Quite impressive, Thera noted calmly. Though I noticed they're working together quite effectively for people who want to keep species separate. Reed grinned. Ironic, isn't it? The ones most opposed to integration are demonstrating exactly why it's necessary. He activated the bunker's external cameras and broadcast systems. Time to make them face that irony. His voice echoed across the valley. This is Commander James Reed of Earth Security Forces. I'm transmitting visual evidence of illegal cooperation between supposedly opposed factions. Corporate executives, military leaders, and political figures from multiple species, all working together to maintain artificial barriers between their peoples. Thera stepped forward, her royal bearing evident even through their simple security feed. The technology you fear isn't about erasing differences between species. It's about allowing us to work together openly, honestly, as equals, just as you're doing right now in trying to stop us. The bunker's sensors detected weapon systems powering up outside, but they also showed dozens of media ships broadcasting the confrontation across human and alien networks. Final warning, the Alliance commander barked. Surrender, or we will use lethal force. Reed's hand found Thera's again. Ready? She nodded, interfacing with her bag one last time. The quantum crystalline matrix hummed with power as it connected to the bunker's hybrid systems. The protocols are transmitting, but they'll try to shut us down before the broadcast is complete. Let them try, Reed said, activating the bunker's final surprise. The mountain itself seemed to come alive as hidden defense systems, human, alien, and hybrid. emerged from camouflaged positions. Years of scavenging, adapting, and preparing were about to pay off. The battle that followed would be remembered as a turning point in human-alien relations. The Preservation Alliance's forces fought with skill and advanced technology, but they faced an enemy that embodied everything they feared. Humans and aliens working together, combining technologies and tactics in unexpected ways. And through it all, the integration protocols streamed out across quantum channels, proving that cooperation wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. When the dust settled, the valley was littered with disabled ships and stunned troops. No lives lost, but plenty of evidence secured. The Preservation Alliance's leadership was exposed, their hypocrisy revealed to multiple worlds. In the bunker's control room, Reed and Thera watched as the first successful tests of the integration protocols played across multiple screens. Human technology seamlessly interfacing with alien systems, creating new possibilities neither species could achieve alone. Worth more than a handbag, Reed teased gently. Thera turned to him, her luminescent eyes soft. Worth everything. Though I've learned that true worth isn't about technology or status or even power. It's about what we're willing to risk for what we believe in, who we're willing to become to make things better. And who have you become? He asked, drawing her closer. Someone who sees worth in unexpected places, she replied. Someone who understands that progress comes not from maintaining barriers, but from breaking them down. Her violet fingers traced his jaw. Someone who loves a supposedly primitive human who proved to be worth more than all the quantum crystalline handbags in the galaxy. Their kiss was witnessed by a dozen different species' camera feeds, becoming another kind of symbol for the changes sweeping through the galaxy. A reminder that the greatest barriers weren't technological, but the ones they built in their own minds. In the days that followed, the integration protocols revolutionized interspecies relations. But those who knew the full story understood that the real revolution had started earlier, with an arrogant alien Heiress, a determined human guard, and a handbag that proved sometimes the most valuable things can't be measured in credits or technology. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony, and perhaps a sense of justice too.